What's up, Ego Hackers? Welcome to Season 40, Episode 14, as part of the How to Type Yourself 2.0 course, focusing on Type Grid 5 and Octagram 4.1. And these people are not authentic. I apologize. This is wrong. Got my whiteboard all messed up here, so let's fix this right now. Who are harmonious? Harmonious. Who are the harmonious people? These are the attorneys and the witnesses. They are attorneys and witnesses. These are the people with the really good perception. Okay, so we have perception down here. These 4 octograms representing perception. And as a result, attorneys and witnesses are all about perception. Attorneys is all about narrative. These people build narratives. It's all about narrative and making something look a certain way, versus witnesses are all about witnessing what actually happened and basically offering a testimony or testifying to what actually happened regardless of narrative. That is the witness basically, but it's all based on one thing. It is based on cognitive focus in support of perception, okay? And honestly, these people are also, because they're very perception invested, they're bad at decisions. They are indecisive people, okay? They are very indecisive. Why is that? Well, it's because these people are constantly trying to fit in. They're constantly trying to fit into their environment, and they are adjusting their straw man. What does that mean? Well, it means they enjoy wearing masks. These people wear masks, which means they are not the same person with everyone. Certain people in their life, they have basically created a straw man or a persona to fit the people that are in their life. They have a specific persona for Mike, and they have a specific persona for Sabrina, and they have a specific persona for their parents, and they have a specific persona for XYZ person, and they are adjusting themselves accordingly. I would do that all the time when I was a UDUF. Well, guess what? Here's UDUF right here. UDUF men, UDP men is UF. So this is like, for example, this is WIC, right, in the Ego Hackers community. This is WIC, right? Then you have SDP, SDJ men, which was Rain previously. And then you have SDP men, and this is like Christian. This is an SD or Robert Potts. You know, this is an SD one man. UDPF women. This is like my wife CK, for example. There's CK right there, and they are SF, right? And SDPF. Oh, lost it. Oh well. SDPF, these are the SDUF women, right? These are like the ones who are what you call like the bombshell women, the Victoria's Secret models, the women who are entirely invested in aesthetics, etc., because they are trying so hard to fit in, and that's why they have all their makeup caked on as much as possible, right? Versus these folks are all about philosophy, etc., okay? And witness and attorney is separated amongst these, okay? That's generally how it works, all right? So just something for you folks to consider. But what it means to be a harmonious is that you are basically trying to ultimately avoid conflict, okay? Versus people who are authentic, they welcome conflict. Sometimes they actually create conflict in order to get people moving, in order for people not to stagnate. Harmonious people will stagnate in life, and they'll actually potentially stop aspiring. They can. And that's why you have people who are authentic to create conflict to get things moving along. And then they can go back to being harmonious after they've reached another growth level in their lives, basically, right? Harmonious people really are all about peace. They want peace. Authentic people are all about conflict, okay? And so they don't avoid conflict. But these people do avoid conflict because they're just trying to fit into their environment, fit into their social group. It's all about fitting in. Fitting in is their mission, basically, right? And that's why, and you know, Perception is all about fitting in. Like the Bible verse that says, avoid the appearance of evil, basically. That's what attorneys and witnesses do. That's what these people are doing consistently. They're trying to make sure that their appearance is giving off a certain vibe, okay? These people, harmonious people, care more about vibes than everything. Vibes is everything. They want to have the right vibes with people. People have to be able to vibe with them. You know, they got to be able to vibe with certain people, right? But these people will go out of the way to be able to vibe with as many people as possible. The thing is they have to adjust their persona. They have to wear masks. These people are all about being willing to be fake. Authentic people are more invested in real hell, and harmonious people are more invested in fake heaven. These people can be fake. It is a thing, right? And it's because they're trying to fit into their environment. They're not being their authentic selves. They are technically being inauthentic. And that can be a really big problem. Except, if you notice, cognitive focus actually switched here. And the UF people are, ultimately here. And what ends up happening is that still, let's see here, SDPF isolation. This is where isolation actually can end up creating still UF people, and then these folks are all about community down here in terms of family, the family community and whatnot. But these two things can still lead to inauthenticity, also known as harmonious behavior, fitting into your environment consistently, okay? Avoiding conflict whenever possible, right? Now, for those negotiators out there who are like, well, sometimes, I'm harmonious and sometimes I'm authentic. And it's like, well, if it's sometimes, you're harmonious, okay? Because authentic people are authentic basically all the time, all right? But if you're like saying, well, I'm sometimes this, sometimes that, if you're like even questioning it, or if it's a maybe, you're automatically harmonious by default. So when you're answering the assessment, keep that in mind, okay? It's all about the vibes, right? It's what it's all about, okay? And they're very indecisive. These people are indecisive. And these people need help making decisions. That's why they need to be with J octagrams, because they're a P octagram, because it helps them with their decision making. But what they provide to J octagrams is they help guide the J octagrams with what they see, okay? And they have very good memory. These people have very, very good memory, with the UDPF woman having the best memory of them all, okay? Just like the UDJ male has the best judgment of them all, right? And they're hyper invested in those, but that means they're very, very weak on those. Whereas the other types, the other octagrams in between, are a little bit more balanced between judgment and perception. However, whereas the extremes is the UDJ male or the UDP female, okay? Those are the extremes, right? And that ends up, dominating the entire thing from that perspective, okay? So this is, in general, what the definition is to be harmonious. They avoid conflict. They, instead of being willing to engage or start up conflict, essentially. All right? These are all about harmony. It's about peace. It's about unit cohesion or team building, that kind of thing. Teamwork makes the dream work, that kind of perspective. That's what it is to be harmonious, right? And oftentimes, I've had a lot of harmonious people look down on me because they're like, recently I actually had someone who is harmonious. I had a UDJ woman actually criticize me for being not harmonious because she's authentic, and telling me that like I worship stress, right? Because I'm all about engaging in conflict. When I'm just like, no, well, you're just being fake, and you're actually projecting onto me, telling me that I have to be fake. And it's like, no, I'm not going to be fake. I'm not going to be inauthentic. I'm not going to try to fit into the environment, because in my personal life experience, anytime that I would attempt to be to fit in, basically, I would never fit in. You're talking to the fat kid in school. You're talking to when I was a child, I was always picked last for kickball or sports whatsoever, and I was basically the school reject consistently, such that I became dejected. And every time I would fit in, it wouldn't do any, it would not be rewarding for me. Fitting in never rewarded me. Only authenticity was rewarding for me. And that was the only way that I was even able to get attention in my life, right? So versus other people, they get a lot of attention, so they can afford to be harmonious, right? And that's something that a lot of people don't even realize. So again, they're generally indecisive. One thing I could say about UDP men, for example, I oftentimes encounter UDP men, and it's like I'm trying to get them to be entrepreneurial, but like it's very difficult because they don't have the J, because they're indecisive with how the direction and they want to take their business or how it's structured, etc. So I basically have to teach the UDP male how to turn into SF so that he could actually utilize proper judgments and have more confidence within his judgment. And then once he's able to have more confidence in his judgment, then he understands that he doesn't have to necessarily fit into an environment. He doesn't have to fit into a frame, basically, right? And then he can take it on from there. And then he is the one who determines his own frame, his own environment from there. And that's the UDJ male perspective. And I try to move UDP men into UDJ. What's really interesting, though, if a UDP male ends up getting in a relationship with a UDJ woman, what ends up happening over time is that the UDP male will turn UDJ and the UDJ woman will turn UDP, which is really, really fascinating. And eventually they'll help each other get to subconscious focus instead of being stuck in unconscious focus, which is kind of, it's way more unhealthy for two people who have the same cognitive development to be unconscious focus. Now, if they have an opposite development, it might be a good idea it is a good idea because it naturally happens. One of them will be subconscious focused and one of them will be unconscious focused, even though they have opposite developments, being unconscious developed or subconscious developed. And this is something very, very important for you folks to understand. So anyway, that's it for episode 14. Thanks for watching and listening, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.